That evening. After a century of neglect, I'm impressed to find the paint-declaring Ferris and Sons still clinging to the brick of the large rectangular warehouse in some kind of defiance towards time. The roof isn't putting up as much of a fight. The metal corrugated tiles are peeling away. Some, already fallen, lie discarded on the swathe of concrete spreading out from the building like a dull grey moat. The warehouse is hidden from view of the town by the forest and is far enough out on the edge that no one really pays it much attention. Out of sight, out of mind is a motto that suits Wayhaven quite well in general. There is still enough of a trail through the trees for me to drive my car up to the building, though I find my teeth clacking together more than once over the uneven dirt track. I'm thankful to pull up onto the concrete. The cracks are easier to deal with than the tree roots. Cracking on the handbrake, I lean over my passenger seat, ignoring the piles of crumpled paperwork, until my hands find the slim handle of my flashlight. It's a weighty piece of equipment, but its light slices through the gloom easily as I step out of the car. I glance over the shadowed scene of the abandoned warehouse, the moon beginning to rise behind it. The silence from the surrounding trees only makes the squeak of the metal doors echo louder. I can't help my mind running to who or what I might find inside, and whether it might be dangerous. Hmm. I guess we're building our character now. I'm always questioning when I get such options if it's going to be like, well, you chose good combat skills, so your investigative skills are trash now, or whether you can choose to be good at everything, or whether it just you choose the first option and the rest gets handled automatically. I don't know. I do much prefer to stick to the investigative side of things, though. I'm a detective after all. I can mostly handle myself, but getting into a fight wouldn't be to my advantage. I'm hoping I find no one and can just search for evidence instead. That's much more suitable for me. The whole uncertainty of the situation makes me anxious. My hand travels to the gun and pepper spray on my belt, though that gesture doesn't help to settle my nerves as much as I'd hoped. I can't tell if it's the chill night air or worry that makes me suddenly shiver, but I do my best to brush the feeling away. I press onwards into the warehouse, hoping to get this over with as quickly as possible. Inside the warehouse. Inside, I sweep my flashlight across the interior of the warehouse, the beam of light flashing through the murky darkness. It definitely seems empty, though I'm not sure if that's a relief or more of a concern. My shoes hit the dirt-caked floor and I glance down. The tiles must have been rather beautiful at one point. Hints of yellow and red jut out between the dried mud, dust, and plants as my shoes scoff against them. Graffiti lines most of the crumbling walls, all of it spray-painted with perfect spelling and grammar. God forbid one of the rebellious rich kids' parents find out they had spelled "this place stinks" incorrectly. I roll my eyes at the mild language and tidy handwriting before wondering where to start. Let's check around outside first. Knowing it's probably better to check that no one is going to sneak up on me from outside, I head back through the doors to the concrete lot and trees. It is a little lighter out here with both the glow of moonlight and my flashlight, but I still keep my steps steady over the cracks and glass. Starting a perimeter along the outside walls of the building, I keep my gaze flickering over anything strange or unusual. By the time I'm nearly back at the front of the warehouse, I realize there is no one but me around and nothing out of place about the building's exterior. I move back inside, pushing open the squeaking metal door. My focus flashes up at a shadowy movement across my path. Look for the figure in the darkness. I frown into the darkness, pressing my flashlight forward a little further. The room is silent and I can't see any figure or shadows. A sudden flurry of movement sounds from behind me and my heart leaps into my throat. My instincts take over and I make for cover. Holding my breath, I dash forwards, skidding to a stumbled, crouching halt behind some broken factory equipment. The sound echoes again. I look up and find it's just a flurry of pigeons flying from the rafters. I shake my head and let out a sharp breath before standing and coming out from behind cover. Thank God no one was around to see that. I flinch again at the shrill ring of my phone from my pocket. The ringing stings against my hearing, which had grown used to the heavy silence. I snap my phone out of my pocket and press it to my ear without looking at who's calling. Detective Langford? I say, my voice coming out in barely more than a whisper.
All right, Detective.
Verda asks from the other end. I clear my throat at the sound of his voice, shaking myself from the burst of adrenaline beginning to drain from my body. Yeah, just got a bit of a scare at the warehouse.
Are you alright? Do you need me to send someone to you?
Hmm. I'm fine, it was just a noise.
Maybe it was a ghost.
Verda says in jest, obviously hoping to distract me.
I hear those kinds of places are always haunted. Or maybe a werewolf. It is a full moon after all.
I give a chuckle, glancing out through the dirt-stained window to the bright moon beyond. The moonlight highlights the tops of the skeletal trees that stretch out towards town. As if anything that exciting would find its way to Wayhaven, I say in a heavy tone. Well, you just had that murder, you know? Though, speaking of strange things, I found something odd about our victim. Oh, that's Verda. Okay. He lets his words trail off, and I shift on the spot, waiting for him to continue. Define odd. That sounds like something I would absolutely say. I tell him to which he gives me an uncertain sigh.
It's her blood.
There's the sound of shuffling papers down the phone.
It's not hers.
I frown deeply, wondering if I heard him correctly. What?
The blood in her body isn't hers. In fact, it's not even fully human.
Animal blood? I offer as a guess,
I'm not sure, he says.
followed by a heavy sigh.
It resembles human blood, but it's definitely not all hers. The best way I can think of to describe it so far is that a parasitic virus has mutated the blood cells in a major way.
As I continue to talk, I decide to start making my way out of the warehouse. The echo of my voice around the empty room is a bit distracting. And I was hoping for a nice normal murder. I say, ending with a sigh.
Are there ever any of those?
He says, chuckling.
I won't know anything more until I get the results of the tests, but I'll make sure to send them off to the hospital first thing tomorrow.
For all the modern appliances the station has, coincidentally donated by the mayor after his son decided to join the force, there isn't enough room for the big machines. Any testing has to be done at the local hospital. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow then,
Yeah, see you then.
he says. I hit the end call button and shove the phone back in my pocket, grabbing the metal door to head outside, only for someone to come barreling into me from behind, sending me flying through the door. I collide heavily with the concrete and let out a loud hiss as pain jolts through my chest and arms. My flashlight skids across the concrete, the beam blinding me as it comes to rest a few feet away, shining brightly into my eyes. Forcing myself onto my hands and knees, I glance up, my body stiffening to see a shadowed figure looming over me in the moonlight. Tell them to stay where they are. Stay where you are, I call while trying to scrabble back onto my feet. I wince as a strike of pain courses down my back, but I ignore it so I can stand straight in front of this person. I can barely make them out in the darkness, but it would seem they are a man, a gangly one. We stand opposite each other, neither making a sound. I'm unsure what to do next. My breath clouds into white plumes as it hits the cold air, and I ball my fists at my sides. I think you should come with me. My words are cut short as, out of the darkness, another figure appears and slams into the side of the man I was just looking at. The two of them crash to one side, rolling behind my car. There is a loud grunt and the distinctive sound of concrete cracking under force. Concrete cracking under force? Okay then. I make to step forward, but my path is suddenly blocked by the appearance of three more people, hidden by the night's darkness. Heavily outnumbered and completely confused, I have no choice now but to reach for my weapon. I yank it from the holster and point it at the group of shadowed figures before me, the sounds of fighting still echoing from behind my car. None of the figures seem to pay me much attention, a fact I am thankful for. Instead, they are all focused on the fight continuing out of sight behind my car. As I suck in a sharp breath, the sudden cold hits my lungs and shocks me from my momentary paralysis of confusion and anxiety. I take a wide step forward and call. uh, what the hell is going on here? The heads of the three figures snap around to face me, and I flinch at the eerily quick motion. Who are they? One of them asks. Confused, apparently. Another replies, no small amount of sarcasm in their tone. The car beside us suddenly rocks slightly, the two people behind it finally surfacing. The taller of the two slams the other onto the bonnet of my car, and I frown as the metal buckles beneath the heavy impact. All right, that's enough. I yell, surprised at the commanding tone to my voice considering the situation. The figure holding the man down glances up at my words, but as soon as they do, their captive cracks his fist against their jaw. The captive stumbles back from the impact. I have to blink rapidly as the man flashes past me in a blur so fast it can't be real. Don't let him go, the figure calls, rubbing their jaw from the hit. The group tenses, obviously about to run after the speeding figure, but I move forwards and come to stand before them, my gun still raised. Stay where you are. Amazingly, they do, all four of them, and it gives me a slight boost of confidence. Four? I suddenly realize just how outnumbered I am, and my breathing speeds up a little. I can barely see them through the dark, not even able to make out their genders or specific features. My eyes flicker to my car where my radio is. The group of them now stand as a barrier between me and the vehicle. Backup is out of the question. Still, I have my gun. I tighten my fingers around the hilt of the weapon, finger hovering over the trigger. I fired a gun before, but I don't really want to have to do it again. There are times when it's been necessary to pull the trigger, but I really don't want to have to do it again. My grip falters slightly, but I try to keep my stance straight and unmoving. One of the shadowed figures shuffles a step closer. Look, whoever you are, don't come any closer, I warn. Or what? Another asks from the darkness, the question coming out in a half taunt. I swing my gun around to face the speaker, though I can barely make them out in the gloom. I lick my dry lips through my throat, though my throat is so dry it doesn't help any. I will shoot! My voice wavers slightly, but I try to hold my ground. The gun suddenly feels like an iron weight in my hands, my fingers aching to keep it raised. There is a heavy silence, broken only by my heavy breathing and the slight breeze that rattles through the surrounding trees. They're bluffing, one of them suddenly says. I say knock them out and let's go. There's a quick shift of movement from the corner of my eye as one of them steps closer. I turn to them with a sharp breath. And shoot. I'm not bluffing here. The crack of the gun is like lightning as it pierces through the quiet. I grit my teeth as the recoil sends a spasm pulsing up my arm and into my shoulder. My body is still battered from my fall earlier, though I manage to keep my balance. And amazingly, so does the person I shot. For a moment I wonder if I hit them at all, but they suddenly give a small grunt and grab at their right shoulder. They should have been on the floor after being shot at such close range. Shit, they actually shot you. There is a peal of laughter from one of the other figures, and my eyes widen to hear amusement in it and not concern for their friend. And I'll do it again if you don't come with me now. I call, raising the gun again, my shoulders slightly tensed. Now come with me to the station, all of you. They sound serious, the one who was laughing says, amusement still hanging on their words. Shut up, the wounded one growls through the darkness. Their conversation makes me swallow hard, and I try to plant my feet firmer on the ground to steady myself. Bang? A metallic bang makes me swing around, only to find it's the doors of the warehouse creaking in the breeze. I turn back to face the group, but they've vanished. How could they be gone? I didn't even hear footsteps. With a heavy sigh, I stumble towards my car and lean heavily against the side. Adrenaline courses through my body, but I know in the morning I'm going to hurt like never before. A dull ache throbbing at my side proves my point. My gaze turns down to the crumpled dents in the bonnet of my car and I groan. I'll call the station and ask them to be on the lookout. I shake my head and push myself away from the car, limping around to the door and clambering inside. I settle into the seat, resting my head back and wincing at the aftershock of my earlier fall, which I'm now really beginning to feel. I grab up my phone, dialing the speed dial, which puts me through to the station. I barely hear the night shift volunteer on the other end as they greet me. It's Detective Langford, I say in a raspy voice. I've just had an encounter with 5 unknown individuals. I need you to put out an alert. Of course, Detective, they reply. Can you give me their descriptions? I stutter, not having been able to get a good look at any of them. Just make sure the others are aware of any unusual activity. Okay, volunteer replies uncertainly. I hang up the phone and let out a long sigh, my breath steaming up the windshield. The car engine coughs to life as I stick the key in the ignition. I put it into gear the moment it starts, never having been so eager to get home. Meanwhile, in an office building at the edge of Wayhaven. Farah bursts out a laugh as she walks up to the door of the out-of-the-way office building. Ava shoots her a glare. You finished? Farah glances at her before falling into laughter once more. Ava groans and shakes her head, slamming open the door with such force it almost rips away from its hinges. Take it easy, Nat says, placing a concerned hand on her friend's shoulder. Ava tries to do as suggested, but her back still tightens, adding to the intense, white-hot throbbing pain from the wound in her right shoulder. Farah wipes away a tear from her eyes and grins, the expression far too much like a panther for anyone to think it's genuine. I still can't believe they shot you. They were scared, Nat says. I don't care why they did it, Farah replies. I only care that they did. The look on our almighty leader's face when it happened. He claps Ava on the back and lets out another chortle, not noticing the tightening of Ava's jaw or the balling of her fist at her side. We should have taken them out as soon as we got there, Morgan says, a guttural growl rumbling at the back of her throat as she speaks. Farah turns to Morgan, arching a thick black brow. Oh, you're always such a people person. Nat rolls her. They're all female. Why are they all female? They've got like 3 male names. Ah, well, Ava's female. Fair enough. Farah could really go either way. I have no idea. But Nat's and I guess Nat could be short for Natalie or something like that. But Morgan's definitely a male name. Nat rolls her eyes, her expression like a parent tired of their bickering children. The group continues on up the narrow flight of stairs until they reach a dark wood door, a panel of opaque glass obscuring the room inside. Ava pushes open the door, the group coming to a stop at the sight of a slim woman in a grey suit. A flash of sleek light brown hair streams down over her shoulders. Excuse me. She looks up from the manila folder she was peering at and glares at them. I was expecting you an hour ago. A frown creases her brow as she looks over Ava's wound. What happened? Farah barely stifles a laugh as Ava waves away her question with a sharp breath. The group bustles inside, spreading themselves about the room. Nat takes a seat on the opposite side of the mahogany desk, fidgeting slightly when it's obviously not as comfy as it appeared. Morgan manages to scout out the darkest corner, a flash of flame glimmering in her eyes, followed by a ring of cigarette smoke circling from her lips. Farah flops into one of the other padded chairs, arms and legs draped over the sides and head rolled back. Ignoring her companions, Ava strides to the only window in the room. The fragile slatted blind quivers at her touch as she peers through it to the street below. There's no one around, the woman says. She lets the file in her hand drop to the desk, the slap of paper on wood sounding at the light impact. So, Agent, Farah says, shifting slightly, what are we doing in this dump? You mean the town or the office? Morgan asks. Both, Farah replies. The two grin at each other, Morgan's stream of smoke becoming ragged as she chuckles. You should be more serious regarding this matter. You know the last team in Wayhaven ended up. Her trailing words make them all tense, remembering the photos of the mangled bodies. Well, you did send a team of demons to do a vampire's job, Farah mutters, obviously trying to break the heavy silence. I called you here because I have a new objective to add to your current mission, the woman says, catching the group's attention. You are to protect the next victim. What? Morgan splutters. Even Nat leans forward, lacing her fingers together in confusion. Protection? That's not exactly our specialty, Farah says, everyone in the room nodding in agreement. The agent's lips thin, and she marches in front of the desk to stare at them. You're my team, she says, her gaze drawn back to the folder on the desk. There is no one else we, the agency, would trust with this assignment. The killer has run out of potential victims. There is only one left with the requirements he's after. The ones with the mutation in their blood? Nat asks, and the agent nods in confirmation. Why does the killer want them? Morgan asks through a puff of smoke. Doesn't the mutation mean he can't use his pheromones on them to get them to do what he wants, like normal humans? They didn't help his other victims. That didn't help his other victims, but we're not sure of his reasons, the agent replies quickly. You know who he is. You just have to find him and stop him. And also keep this new target safe? Farah asks. No trouble at all, then. Who are we being assigned to? Nat asks, leaning further forward. The agent frowns, her eyes watering for a moment. It's a soft expression the group has never seen from the woman all their 10 years of working with her. It's. She begins, then straightens herself, her stiff expression returning. She reaches behind her to the folder, throwing it onto the small table in front of the group. It's my child. The group, surprised by this sudden announcement and not even aware Agent Langford had a child. Agent Langford? What? Oh, I see where this is going. Eventually glance at the photo, now spread in the open file. You've got to be kidding me, Ava says with a loud groan, gripping her wounded shoulder. Farah bursts out laughing. Their new assignment is protecting the detective they just met outside of the warehouse.